Good Friday afternoon, everybody. I'm Peter Grant with Zaner Metals in the Denver office. As you can see, I am wearing my Cubs gear today, and that's because I'm very sad that opening day didn't happen. I look forward to it every year, and in my mind, opening day is the first day of the Cubs' next run to their next World Series. And so now I'm sad because there's no opening day. With me, my partner, Peter Thomas in Chicago, in his bunker once again, but not in his Barco Lounger.
That's true. But today, in memory of the warfare that's going on, you will notice I'm wearing my Naval Special Weapons Special Warfare T-shirt just to kind of get into the feel of what's been going on for the last almost month now. And also I will share with you that for many, many years I had seasons tickets behind the third baseline at Cubs Field, of which my mother finally said to me, please don't send the opening day tickets. I can't take the snow. So don't feel bad, Pete, okay?
I've been into a lot of opening games at Wrigley where I did get snowed on, and same here at Coors Field in Denver. Opening day could be a chilly one.
So. Oh, yeah. So a lot to cover, so let's get right into it, Pete.
Yeah, let's jump into it. So big gains in the metals market this week. A lot of retracement of the big losses we saw over the previous 2 weeks. Looks like gold's going to close up a little bit more than 8%. Silver is up about 16% for the week. Platinum up 22% for the week. And our good friend palladium up 38% on the week. And if you think about it, last week we traded below $1,500 briefly.
That's correct.
We're currently trading just under $2,300, around $2,280 or so. So there's been like a 53% gain off the last week's lows. Crazy market.
We were out there like with our naval semaphore with our flags going, it's below 1,500. We might consider owning some, and you're getting 0.2 on your T-bills right now, and it returned to $22+ return in a week. Not that there's any risk there or anything.
It was a wild ride for our hedge clients for sure. I had a good conversation with one of our recycling clients yesterday, and he's ridden the ride. He was hedged, partially hedged, anyways, and it was a crazy ride. But we were kind of talking about the pent up demand for automobiles that's going to be out there when this sort of blows over. So you start seeing the coronavirus infections leveling out in China. At least that's the reported data, and so we think back to February when auto sales were down like 92%, I think it was, and I think it's more than 80% in March so far. So nobody's been buying cars, but things are slowly, it seems, getting back to normal in China, and I think that there is a lot of pent-up demand.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Because the refineries and the mines are shut down, I think the deficit in the palladium market is going to get a lot worse.
We've seen the disease spread, the coronavirus spread through North Korea. We've also seen the Russian mines close down. So absolutely, we're going to see a deficit in production. Also, the people that are hedging with us, as far as the catalytic converters, all the auto cats, we're seeing them coming in. One of our guys said he wishes he could borrow more money so he could just start stockpiling them, because he's thinking exactly the way you are, Pete, that the demand is going to be enormous.
There's a government plan for that, I'm sure.
I hope so. I hope so, because if part of this government plan does funnel money into this program, America's going to be a gigantic winner on this one.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. The House passed a $2 trillion stimulus bill today.
Was it today? Okay, great.
Right,
they finalized it today. Right, okay.
Yeah, so it'll go to the president's desk and assuredly be signed. when you combine that with what the Fed is doing, the Larry Kudlow said that it's like a $6 trillion injection into the economy.
I
I was
can't get
looking
my
at,
mind around it. Sorry.
right. I mean, when you think about, the last stimulus package during the financial crisis, President Obama injected $800 billion. And we thought, like, holy cow, $800
Yeah.
billion.
And that was under Hank Paulson at that time, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I remember talking to him. He and I had lunch, and he was saying, we're looking at it. And I kept saying, it's enormous, Hank, really? And we were having a corned beef and cabbage at the time. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. And now I look at it and go, it pales in comparison.
Mere bag of
Oh,
shells, my
yeah,
friend. Oh my
where's my
gosh.
petty cash box? It's
So think about what that sort of means for gold in particular. Well, let's focus on gold.
yeah.
So
Okay.
in this month alone, the Fed's balance sheet shot up above $5 trillion. The surpassing the high mark, during the kind of the financial crisis days, through 2009, 2010.
Yeah, exactly right.
Peaked out, and then they moved into the taper phase.
Sure.
Well, all of the taper got erased. We blew through the old highs on the Fed balance sheet, and we're now north of $5 trillion.
Right.
When you think about a $2 trillion stimulus bill, how are they going to pay for it? They're going to issue bonds.
Well, of course they are.
Well, yeah, and then the Fed is going to buy them
With our money.
with our money, or money
Yeah.
that they create out of thin air.
Uh-huh.
And think about what gold did in that period from 2008 until 2011. It
Right.
basically went from 800, sort of the deleveraging break took it down to 800 and some 886 or somewhere in that vicinity. And then it
Yeah.
went to $1,900. So we had a double in gold with an $800 billion stimulus package and the and Fed actions that took their balance sheet north of $4 trillion.
Yep.
And now we're already north of $5 trillion and a $2 trillion stimulus package. And so, in kind of getting back to your point, they brought back TALF. There's, corporate bond buying facilities. They're talking about buying stocks.
Imagine the commercial paper market.
Yeah,
It's
ETFs,
yeah.
indexes.
Yeah.
Everything's
It's gonna
fair
be
game.
interesting. Yeah,
Not
right.
that it's even legal. There's a whole lot of talk out there that this isn't even legal for the Fed to do.
Well, whether it is or isn't, it has to be done. It isn't an if or a maybe. America's on the line here. I mean, imagine if he came in today, our President POTUS came in and said, Dodd-Frank, it's gone. Now we're going to allow the financial markets to go full steam again and bring all those people back that abandoned America because of these laws that were put in place, slash all that red tape, and interjected all this money. I mean, you better go from like the little shoulder seat back to those racing 5-point belts, because this thing is going to run.
Right. Yeah, and I think that there's huge upside potential in the gold market. And to that end, there's been some interesting things going on in the gold market.
Oh yeah.
So why don't you talk a little bit about that and what you're seeing?
Well, let's talk about Contango. As a former floor trader, as a deck holder, and as having held a very large deck in metals, when I see late December at almost a positive $30 right now today going into the close, I'm saying to myself, I think it's time to start looking at some of these spreads for carry. I'm getting 0.2 on my T-bills. If I've got $1 million T-bills and I bought them right, I'm at 1.6 maybe. I could lock in 6-7% on some of these contangos. I got to be crazy not to be locking into these, with the idea of maybe coming to Zaner Precious Metals, taking delivery of the metal, holding the metal, and then delivering it in December and scooping up that premium. I mean, you're talking about making 3 to 5% on every dollar you put in. I mean, the potential is there. Not, of
Yeah.
course, we never guarantee that, Pete, but I mean, look at those spreads. They're enormous.
Yeah, and normally, those things don't last very long, and it's
No,
been
they
kind of
don't.
interesting that
Yeah.
uh, they've been there pretty much all week this week, and there's some suggestion that well, let's continue the conversation. We know that there have been some issues in availability of physical metal
Yeah,
to
well put.
deliver against COMEX products,
Right.
and so the LBMA is offered to provide metal to settle COMEX contracts, but
Right.
that's a little bit easier said than done because well, they've talked about changing the contract basically so that COMEX or LBMA products could be used as a deliverable against COMEX specifications.
Right. I actually read through that, and they're talking about doing a kilobar, 100 ounce, and then what we refer to in the banking industry is a big boy, which is a 400 ounce.
Right.
And they're talking about having kind of a myriad or a spread within that contract. It looks very interesting. I think it's a very good idea. Are they going to get it to go? I found the LME is pretty good about following through when they feel they have something that'll work. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It'll be interesting.
Mhm.
So my original thought was like, wait, they're going to take the 400-ounce bars, they're going to melt them down, create 400-ounce bars.
Well, they could. I
But
mean, it's
but
not
there's
that
no
big a deal to
refining.
do.
There's no refining capacity right now because everybody shut down.
I,
So the
I
easier
know.
thing is to obviously change the contract.
One of our accounts who brings probably the largest amount of metal out of Peru called me today, and he says, "Give me a plane, please. I got 200 keys sitting here. I can't even get them out of the country to pay my staff." I said, "Dude, nobody's gonna load it. If you watch the special coronavirus that we did as a podcast with the leading doctor in China, one of the kindest and smartest men that I've ever met in my life, a Harvard graduate, sat down with us for half an hour and explained the dangers of it. Guess what? The cardboard boxes that you're loading on the plane can carry the disease. It's a
Right.
fact. So if you didn't see the half-hour special that we did on the coronavirus, please get a hold of us. We'll send you a copy. It might save you or your company or your family. It's that important.
Yeah, I'll make sure it gets linked at the end of today's
Outstanding.
video.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So yeah, we covered a lot of ground already.
Okay. Yeah.
Silver market's been fun in terms of sourcing. I get a lot of the wholesaler
Getting seasick
sheets.
is your idea of
Well,
fun, I
yeah, but
guess.
I get a lot of, and this is true for gold too. But I get a lot of the wholesaler sheets
Yeah.
every day.
Of
So I
course.
see their inventory, and it's
Yeah.
out, out,
Out.
out,
Out. Yeah.
out, out, delayed, delayed, out,
Yeah.
out, out.
Yeah.
Um, and so sourcing metal has become a full-time job for everybody in the coin and bar business right
Yeah.
now,
Right.
and they're having to pay to entice people to sell. They're having to pay higher and higher premiums.
Yep.
So and yet in kind of a normal world, people can't even get out to sell their product to, be it the local coin shop or the local pawn shop. And I know guys that go around and buy
Sure.
metal from the
Oh, the
various
scrappers.
pawn shops
Absolutely.
in
Yeah.
the area and so forth. None of
Yeah.
that business is taking place right now.
Oh, the
And
three-ball run business is gone. There's just
yeah,
nothing there. I mean, and I talked to a lot of people, and they just got products stacking up, and what are they doing? They're having to call their insurance agents and up their policies because they got so much product sitting around. I mean, it's very unfair to everyone. But let's put it this way, there are a couple of ways to look at this. There's no product around, so your prices are going to continue to rally. But when this wave starts to catch up and people start getting better, there's going to be a lot of product coming too. And the question is, how much is going to be used? That's the multi-billion-dollar question.
right, right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, but I have always said, uh, particularly from my days on the retail end of the business, accumulate when it's quiet out. Uh,
Right, right.
Steady, gradual buying, build up your stocks. The the This is not the time to be aggressively accumulating. I mean, if you need metal, you need metal.
Yeah, right.
But as an
If you're an end
investor,
user, absolutely.
yeah. But if you're an investor, you need to be gradually buying um, throughout the year. As the way I always thought of it is like, if I want to hold 10% in metal, that's my target. As my net worth grows, I keep adding and keep adding and keep adding, and dollar cost average basically into that metals position, regardless of what the underlying metal price is doing.
Well, to back
Um,
up what you're saying, the Cambridge School of Economics in the late 1600s came out with a model in which they said everyone in England should have 5 to 10% of their net assets. And they were producing paper regularly. I mean, it wasn't, they had their own fiat currency and it was well respected and used globally. But they said 5 to 10% of all assets should be held in silver and or gold. It has not changed since then. Gold is the longest and oldest monetary unit there's ever been. They used it to pay the workers that built Tutankhamun's pyramid. I mean,
right.
for me, it's got a pretty good run.
That's a good,
So
good, good long run for sure.
so exactly what you're saying is DCA, dollar cost averaging. DCA, that should be your rule of thumb. It gets into the low teens, right, Pete? That's where you want to quietly start accumulating. And if it rallies a little bit, you buy a little more. If it goes down a little bit, you buy a little more. And you know what? You put a few boxes in the safe and you save it for your kids' tuition or your retirement. Because
Right.
at the end of the day, it's rare that you have them come out ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's probably a good place to end today,
Okay.
because I got to
Yeah.
get back to work.
Work. All right, brother.
I might
Nice
have had the
talking with
Cubs
you.
game on in the background. Today would have been game two
Oh
of
yeah.
the
Would have.
season. I
I.
might have had it on in the background as
What are
I
they going to do?
wrapped up my
What
day.
if this goes? Are they just going to shorten the season
I
and
would
just
imagine
log it that
they'll
way?
shorten the season, is my guess.
Okay. It is
So,
what it
which would
is, man.
make me sad.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
we still have MMA. So,
Well,
and
there you go.
they're doing it without the crowds. They're just fighting in the ring.
Right.
So, I have hope at any rate.
Yeah, I heard a great proposal today that they were talking about just getting two golfers to have a one-on-one match on like an empty golf course and televise it.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Why not make it pay-per-view? There's
yeah,
nothing else to watch.
I
I have
know.
to tell you, I was hearing that women's Canadian hurling was on, and they had a large
I
viewership
love curling.
because there was every other slot they had a team, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll watch.
I'm a sports guy, man. I love my sports, and it's probably the only TV I normally watch. And so I'm at a loss at this point. I'm watching movies with my kids at night, but Avengers stuff mostly.
Oh,
We've been on
okay.
an Avenger run, which has been great. But
It's not bad. I
yeah,
mean, they're beyond the Dumbo age, so
thank
now
goodness.
yeah, thank goodness for sure. I went through that too, brother. All
All
three
right,
of
we
mine,
have totally
and
gone off
you.
the rails, Pete.
All right,
So let's
brother.
close it out. I'm Peter Grant for Zaner Metals in
And Pete
Denver.
Thomas, thank you again for seeing us, and we'll talk to you next week.